Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. And today we have Deputy Jeff Mary from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. Jeff, it's great to have you on the show.
Bill, I appreciate you asking me to be here.
I have been trying to get you on the show for a long time, and our schedules just never seem to meet.
Oh, it's been 2.5 years since you've asked me the first time. We finally were able to do it.
You're a busy man.
I have a lot to do. I have a lot of people to try to take care of and help and protect.
You know, one of the things that our sheriff got started was the community policing. And we've had some great community policing officers come through Sun City Center. But not to make your head so big you can't get out the door. You're probably the best I've seen come through there since Joe.
I appreciate that, Bill, and I try hard to do what I do best, and that is to protect and educate the people of not only Sun City Center, but of Wimauma, of Ruskin, of basically the South Shore area of Hillsborough.
That whole section to be a community police officer for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do. I'm the liaison for that entire part of the county with the sheriff's office. I'm not the only deputy down there. We have patrolmen and detectives, but I'm the one that takes charge in the community policing role, the liaison, those community partnerships, if you will.
You're the face of the department to a lot of us.
That's right. Most everybody down there.
Major, and he's a great guy, but you really are the face of the department down there.
In Sun City Center, they do know me, and that I made it a point when I got there for everybody to know me. You know, I attended just about every civic meeting and HOA meeting and community event that we had so that they knew they had a partner. If you don't know that person, you don't know that community resource deputy, how are you going to reach out to them when something happens?
Let's talk about the community resource deputies, not only in South County, but all over. Do we have people like yourself in most of the communities throughout the county? We
do. In District 4, we have Deputy Brody. He handles Gibsonton and Fishhawk. We also have Luke Hussey, who's a community resource deputy down in District 4. Other districts, I believe District 5 has 6. Riverview, Claremelle, Palm River, Bloomingdale. We have community resource deputies in Dover and Town and Country. Community resource deputies are the partner with the community. We partner with not only the people of the community, but the other agencies and organizations, the neighborhoods, the Chamber of Commerce, the Federation management companies. We try to make those community partnerships so that we can all come together, reduce crime, and make Hillsborough County a great place to live.
Is this really kind of the equivalent of the beat cop? I mean, everybody gets in these air-conditioned cars now. They don't even roll down the windows.
You don't hardly know the deputy that works your area.
No, you don't. That's what I'm saying. It used to be, I can remember in Detroit even, when I lived up there, and that's no place to live. But the police officers were pretty good guys.
Well, they only had a block or two, and they walked it constantly, and they were always there. So you knew everybody that lived in that area. You knew all the business owners in that area, and that's predominantly our role, because our patrol deputies are detectives. You know, they're out there fighting crime, solving crimes, and typically when they interact with a citizen, it's in a moment of crisis. It's either
That's
when,
the truth.
and I teach community partnerships to these deputies, but we predominantly come into contact with citizens twice in their lifetime.
You're like a dentist. We're glad you're there, but we don't want to see you.
Once is when we pull you over for running a stop sign or speeding, you know, and that's a crisis for an individual. Oh my gosh, I'm getting pulled over.
$200
Yes.
right now.
I'm getting a citation. You know, that's a crisis. Or when the person's been victimized. You know, when they're a victim of a burglary or
And we're glad you're there, but we're not happy to see you.
Absolutely. So you're in a moment of crisis, so we're associated with crisis. You know, it's our role to make you understand that we're human, and we're also there in moments of non-crisis to help you, again, make the neighborhood, make our county a better place.
I think that's what I like about the neighborhood situation with the sheriff's department, with your officers that are there in times that are not always stopping me for a ticket or coming out when I've been robbed. But you run a lot of different kind of classes even that people can avail themselves of.
We try to do a lot of community outreach. Right now, I host 4 classes a month in Sun City Center to educate people on different types of crimes. I go back to the office every month and I research what has hit us the hardest in Sun City Center, Wimauma, and Ruskin over the last 4 or 5 weeks. What can we do as a community, as a person, as a neighbor, to help prevent that, to help reduce that? Now, in Sun City Center, a lot of that is economic scams and identity thefts. Not a lot of burglaries or thefts per se. It is a senior population, but in Wimauma you have vehicle burglaries, in Riverview vehicle burglaries. You know, it's different for differing neighborhoods. So I try to get out and teach those people in those neighborhoods, hey, this is what's going on this month.
The officers actually, one size doesn't fit all.
No, absolutely.
You have to be a different skill set if you're over in Riverview than if you are sitting in Sun City Center.
Absolutely, because what's pertinent in Riverview may not be pertinent in Sun City Center. So I go back, I run these crime statistics, and then I base my class on what's happening so that we can prevent them. It helps us, the sheriff's office, because then we don't have all these calls for service. Our deputies are a little more available to the community. And then it helps you because then you're not a victim of crime, whether it's crime preventative measures of locking, making sure your automobile doors are locked, making sure when you leave the house you lock your front door, getting a burglary system, arming that burglary system, cutting your hedges back, different things. Oh, I'm going to go away for 4 or 5 weeks. Well, you make sure that your neighbors know that you're going to be away. Just little things that sometimes we don't think of or we don't do.
Well, you've really got your message out on locking the doors.
That's good because
If I walk out the door, go out in the back to the dock, I come back, the door's locked. My wife says, Deputy Mary says to keep it locked. Maybe not that extreme, but pretty close.
Pretty close. Well, 3 years ago, prior to me coming to Sun City Center, we had a rash of burglaries. And most of them were, our front doors were unlocked because we were going down to the golf course or we were going over to the club or going down to the pool.
Just be gone for a short time.
Just going to be gone for a little bit. Well, the bad guys knew it. They would check front doors, and if yours was open, would walk in. You know, they wouldn't even have to break in. It was easy. We started locking our doors, and guess what? We don't have that problem anymore. So that's what I try to do in all those communities. That's the message that I try to get out. Crime prevention. You know, and then also, but I also take back when citizens tell me, hey, we're having this issue, you know, we're not reporting it, but this is a problem, you know, such as traffic, nuisance calls, loud noise, construction and late at night, you know, that cause people don't get to sleep. Things that you wouldn't normally dial 911, but hey, what's your advice on this? What can we do as a community? I take those things back to the sheriff's office and we sit down and go over them and bring them back some good resolutions.
You know, I think one of the things I've watched you do in our community is that in our community out there, again, I'm talking about Sun City Center. A lot of these folks have been around for a long time, and they've been driving a golf cart forever. And maybe they forget to signal when they make a turn or something like that. And we did have a situation some years ago where they were going to get a ticket. I don't care. I think you're much better at explaining to them why they need to do that, and you'll watch them next time.
Well, as any law enforcement agency, we're not in the business of disciplining people. That's not our role, okay? We want everyone to acquiesce to the laws that are in place. And most of those laws are, some of them may be annoyances, but most of them are for your safety. Sure. When you were a kid, did you wear a seatbelt?
No.
Nowadays?
Not until my dad was killed by being thrown out of a car.
Nowadays, do you wear a seatbelt? Yeah. That's for safety. Yeah. And you know what? 10, 15 years ago, people, they didn't want to wear. Oh, I'm not going to wear them even though you've passed the law. It wasn't just to annoy people. It was for their own safety and their own good. And all we want is people to acquiesce, follow the laws, you know, and it'll make our community, our neighborhood, our county a lot better place to live. We're not here to dole out discipline. That's all we're looking for.
I think to be clear, what I like about what you do or what you've been trained to do is you're not confrontational. No. You're not standing up in front of the group and saying, if you don't change your way, you're going to jail. You give them reasons for changing their way that make them want to change their way rather than the fear of prosecution.
Right, and back in the 70s and 60s, that's how law enforcement was, very confrontational. You can't do that anymore.
Not with all the cameras.
Not with all the cameras, and it creates defiance. It creates a standoff relationship,
True.
and that's not beneficial to anyone. In law enforcement, we have a hard time fighting the root cause of any crime. Typically, a crime is not somebody just doesn't get up one day and, oh, I'm going to go rob a liquor store, or oh, I'm going to go steal from Walmart. Sometimes there's mental illness, there's substance abuse, there's poverty, there's low education. There's all these root causes. Well, if I'm standoffish with you, the community, I'm not going to get your help on any of those root causes.
Yes.
If I come in there and I partner with you and say, we have these problems, let's work on them together, not only will we reduce crime, but we're also helping those individuals a whole lot more than just putting them in jail or writing them a $200 ticket. Let's worry about the cause. Let's fix the cause. That's what we have to do now.
You know, I listen to you and I hear you saying these things, and I'm thinking, you know, I've known a lot of officers over the years. I mean, we're going way back. And most of them wouldn't have even thought of that. Their job was to pass out so many tickets a day and try to keep things from killing each other.
Write a report, take somebody to jail, and that's my day.
But it's interesting to me, and I didn't realize it until after we'd gotten to know each other a little better. You have a master's degree.
Amazingly enough.
No, I don't. And I listen to you and I hear you speaking, and I think, well, this guy's pretty intelligent.
Thank you.
And then I find out you've got a master's degree, yes. And you're patrolman, correct? You're not a sergeant or anything like that?
I'm just a deputy.
You're just a deputy.
For now, maybe one day later.
But what does it take to become a deputy on this force?
Well, I'm a retread, is what I like to tell everybody. I started in Georgia as a deputy in 1998. When I started up there for that agency, the joke was, if you have a pulse and haven't committed a felony in the last 5 minutes, you got a job. That's how bad it was. But I was with them for quite a few years, and then in 2011 came down here to Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has some of the highest standards in all of the United States.
I'm beginning to believe that from everything I find out.
They require you have at least your associates. They prefer that you have your bachelor's. You can't have so much as a jaywalking ticket in your background, whether it's juvenile or as an adult. You know, no citations, definitely no arrests. They want upstanding characters. They interview your neighbors. They interview your schoolmates. It was, I won't say it was a difficult process.
It's almost like a security clearance.
That's right.
Or it is a security clearance.
It is a long process because they go through, because they don't want the bad apple. We see it on TV every day. And I taught a class this morning. I taught Hillsborough County deputies this morning. And what I tell them is, citizens interact with law enforcement about 5 million times a week, because we have roughly 750,000 law enforcement agents in the United States. So that's 5 million contacts. Well, what do you see on TV? You see the one that went wrong. That's the only one you see. You don't get to see all the other ones. Yeah. But all that good, if we did 1 million good interactions, that one bad one, that's the one they're going to play. That's the one everybody's going to remember. That's the one everybody's going to project upon us. Right. So we don't want that bad apple at all. So I'm sure there's been some people that we've passed over that probably would have been good deputies, but we just don't want to take that chance. We have a very strict hiring regimen. Once you are hired, you have a 2-week, it's called Sheriff's Office Orientation Training, or SOT. It's like a little boot camp. It's 2 weeks, and you run and run and run and run some more. And after that 2 weeks,
Then you get to eat your donuts.
finally, no, they feed you, but they don't feed you donuts. And they want to team build with you, and they want to make sure you're gonna fare well at the sheriff's office. And then they put you through the academy. And
Oh, it's 2 weeks before you even get to the
to the
academy.
academy. Then it's about a 6-month academy, and then we have 12 months of module. So all that, and you're still not out on your own. Then you're another 4 weeks, 2 weeks with an FTO. So we invest about a year into your career that you're with somebody, and we're training you before we let you go out there.
Now, the academy, is that a multi-group? Is that the people from Tampa come to that, and is it just?
It's done through Hillsborough Community College, but we send an entire class from Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office together.
Okay.
Now, if you go into the other classrooms at HCC, it'll be Tampa and Polk and other jurisdictions, but we send a complete class together. They stay together throughout the academy.
Okay. I just wondered how many we hired at a time, or you had to bunch them up to get.
They bunch them up, usually close to 30 for a full class. And at any given time, we've got 2 or 3 academy classes going at different stages. You know, one beginning, one in the middle, and one graduating. So we put a lot of time and effort and a lot of resources into training deputies, in addition to trying to make sure that we have the right ones. Because again, we don't want a black eye. We don't want that deputy that's gonna do something stupid.
No cowboys.
Yes, no, we don't want that. Hillsborough County has a good reputation. We work well with the community. We don't need anything to set us back, especially not in this day and age. We don't want it.
Most of the forces I knew in Ohio, because I was right close to Wright-Patterson, a good share of the people that were on the force were combat defense force or military police or something like that. That was where they got their experience before they came there. Are there many of those in the sheriff's department?
We don't see a lot of people that have prior experience, because we make them go through that 2-week program, and then we make them go through the academy and then our module. We want to eliminate any bad habits, and so a lot of people don't want to put forth that time and effort. A lot of prior experienced people want to come in and go right into a car. Oh, I already know it. I already know everything. Right. And I had a little bit of that when I came in. I know everything, and they're like, oh, that's great, but you're going to learn it our way. This is how we do it. Yeah. This is why we do it this way, and this is how you're going to do it.
If you want to be on our team, this is what you're going to do.
Absolutely, and it's a great team. I mean, it's one of the best moves I've ever.
The attrition rate is not very high then.
No.
People come on the force and they stay.
They stay and they retire. What I've told my family, look at how many generational deputies we have. We have 2nd and 3rd generation deputies here. Absolutely. And if you worked for a company and didn't believe in them, would you let your son or daughter even come work for that agency, that department? No, there's no way. If you didn't like it, if you didn't think they did things right, you definitely wouldn't allow your children to come in and work for them.
Speaking of families, you have a very lovely wife.
Thank you.
She's in marketing. She markets for the chicken, Chick-fil-A. I knew it was chicken, I just couldn't get filet out. Being a police officer, I think, has to be something that's talked over with the family, because you walk out the door every day, and it's not like going to an office or wherever, although some offices are pretty bad anymore. How does she feel about being in the limelight like this, being an officer? We had tumultuous issues when I first began. It took a few years for us to kind of work through, because when I started, I actually went and the sheriff's office I worked for put you in the jail first, 18 months in the jail. Then they sent you to the academy. That's how kind of they made you cut your teeth in the jail first. If he can make it here, he can make it out there. And then when you go to night shift on the road, well, that's where the actions and bad stuff happens. So during those years, there was a lot of sleepless nights that she had, and I think that this agency understands that a lot better.
We received training in the academy, in this academy here, how to talk to your spouse, how to deal with, the pressures at work. We have mentors. We have people that we can call and we can talk to when situations arise. We have family support. We have, wives groups. We didn't have that.
Well, she's also a great asset to you because she comes to many of the functions with you.
Yes.
And that's neat to have the family come with you because it really removes another barrier, I think. And she's certainly a great representative to be on your arm there.
Well, she supports me, and then she also makes you realize that, yes, we're human. We're not robots just out there trying to write everybody a ticket.
What does an officer, do you happen to know what the starting salary of an officer is on the Hillsborough Sheriff's Department?
I believe right now it's close to $48,000 a year. So we came down here for the retirement. Well, everybody comes down here to retire. We came down here for the retirement. So the Florida retirement system is much better than what I had. So I plan to retire at Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. I'd like to retire as a major or a colonel. We'll see how that.
You keep working the way you are, I'm going to bet that's going to happen.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully my hard work pays off.
First, right?
That's right. One step at a time.
It's been so much fun. What advice would you give countywide? I know you give us advice all the time out in Sun City Center. But some of the major things that you would say countywide to people to protect themselves?
To protect yourselves, the biggest thing is if you've got a lock, if something has a lock, use it. If your car has locks, use your car locks. If your front door has a lock, use it. Most crimes, especially
Ellis County with all the kids stealing cars.
Absolutely. Thefts and burglaries are mostly crimes of opportunity. And if this opportunity, car or house, is harder than this one, then they're going to go over here. Make your house, your home, your car harder for the burglars and people to take. That's the advice that I would give. Just do the little things, to lock your stuff, to make sure that it's safe. Don't leave your purse sitting out on your passenger side of your vehicle. Put it underneath or put it in the trunk. Again, it's crimes of opportunity. Take that opportunity away, it won't happen. And the problem is with Hillsborough County right now is the growth. We are experiencing a lot of growth, and as you know, more people, the more crime that you will have. Now, we have been able to reduce crime through our different programs and our community partnerships, but there's always that fine line. We need the help of the community.
Cybercrime has become a really major thing. I get probably 3 or 4 or 5 potential cybercrimes. My wife, after the whatever that big
Equifax breach.
Yeah. We started getting letters like we'd applied for FEMA money. Well, we didn't. But it took us forever to call and get it squared away, And they said, well, good thing you called in. Well, I had to wait 30 minutes to tell you. So a lot of people won't bother.
No, they won't. And I actually, at the Consumer Affairs event 2 weeks ago, I actually spoke specifically about the Equifax breach and what it means for people, because they don't know. They don't realize that that breach alone was 143 million people. It was also over 200,000 credit card numbers. But the 143 million people, it may be your full bank account, your mortgage loans, your home equity loans. They have access to that information now. Most of the time, the bad guys that did that breach are going to use your information to open credit cards, get quick payday loans, little things like that, but it's going to affect you. They're also going to file your taxes early, do it. They like tax refund fraud.
Yeah, sure.
And if all they need, if they have the right information, which guess what, they got from Equifax, then they'll use it.
Right here in the county, they had one lady was 700 million or something, and she got it.
In Riverview, and we, with the help of the Secret Service, assisted the Secret Service, we locked her up for quite some time.
What would you say to some young person that's thinking about, I'd like a career in law enforcement?
Try it out. We've got an Explorers program.
Oh, that's a great idea.
We do. We have a Police Explorers program. We have ride-alongs. The community could come ride along and see if it's something you want to get into. It's very rewarding. We get to help people. That's why most of us are in this. But then again, sometimes it's not what people think either. It's not all. We don't always get the bad guy in an hour or 48 minutes, however, the CSI episode.
It's got to be frustrating to watch this thing. All of a sudden, they've got him.
Hey, they did 5 days in 42 minutes. So
No timeline here.
disheartening for some people, but and help out in your community and engage us.
Get to know your neighbors. I guess is an important thing. I know there are people that don't even know people 2 doors down.
Not anymore. Everybody stays in their lane. And that's another thing that I always tell people. If you see something, say something. Everybody knows what suspicious is. The hair raises on the back of your neck or something doesn't feel right, but we don't want to get involved anymore. We stay in our lane. We don't want anybody to know, oh, I didn't see that, oh, that didn't happen. I've had people call me 3 days later, say, hey, 3 days ago, I saw somebody late at night with a flashlight behind my yard. Right. And I just heard that there was a burglary that same night. I really wish that they would have called us that night, called the sheriff's office that night. If we have to have the community's help with these things. And if they call in things that are suspicious, whether it be an anonymous tip line or call our non-emergency number, let us go out and investigate it. We would rather it be nothing at all than have to come back and clean up all those crimes on the back end.
Well, it's just really very, very important to be proactive. Yes. That's your message most of the time, is be proactive.
Just a little bit.
I listen to your various programs that you put together. And by the way, I really wish those were videotaped, because I think that they would get a much wider audience if they were videotaped. And I've offered a bit. I wouldn't mind doing some of them, because, and I'm not sure, I suspect the Sheriff's Department would have to approve all of this stuff and everything. But what you do and the work you put into each of these programs would be so much better received. It was able to be seen on the computer or on the TV or wherever.
And outside of Sun City Center.
Yes.
Outside of South Shore.
Exactly.
That's something that you and I will work on.
And I believe your other officers are doing the same thing, I would assume, in their communities.
They are.
And what they're doing in Riverview might be of interest to us over here.
Yes.
So it'd be neat if there was some way that you had a YouTube channel or something that these could be accessed.
Yes, package them up so that everybody can watch them.
Exactly. Take that back to them.
I will do that for you, Bill.
Jeff, is there anything else that we haven't covered that you want to get across to the folks?
The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office I'm here as a community policing resource. We are very invested in our community, and I hope that people see that. I hope the community knows that. We spend a lot of times in Boys and Girls Clubs. I go to the Waimama Boys and Girls Club every day. I interact with the children so that they know that the cops aren't the boogeyman, or we're not the bad guy. We are proactive with animal shelters. We have Deputy Darlings. We have Lynn Sowers, a lot of different charity events that we conduct. And it's all to help the community. Because again, we're not here just to write you a ticket or just to lock you up. And we need the community to help us in turn, so that we can eliminate and help alleviate some of those root causes of crime, just like we had talked about earlier.
Well, you're doing a great job, and I appreciate it. And we'll look forward to having the new sheriff on.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to hear what he has to say and what plans he has to go either past David G's or to continue David G's policies.
I agree. That'll be a great show.
Thanks for being with us. I'm Bill Hodges. You're unique, you're special, you're great. Tell yourself so often, because you are, and we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. And again, Jeff, thank you for being with us. You've done a great job out there, and I hope these other deputies are listening to you.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it.
You'll get some flack over that. Again, folks, thanks for being with us.